Hey there, Tubanites. We're going to try something a little different today. Also, it's your friendly neighborhood flash in the pan. Going to try something a little different. This is going to be more towards the keeping your hands busy, something to do. This isn't necessarily for everybody, depending on how good you are with your hands, how good you are with hand tools, what tools you have available to you. You don't have to do this using power tools, but it does speed up the process. Obviously, you can get along with like just a handheld miter saw or something like that. You can work your way around it. I think the first one of these particular items I made, it was with hand tools, so it's definitely possible. It's just going to take a little bit longer. So as you'll see in the title there, what we're talking about is just a little like shop stool, whatever, I don't know, I call them David's crappy stools. So they're very basic, pretty simple design, but I don't know, they're just kind of fun to make. I've got a couple of these laying around my garage. They come in very handy. When I'm painting stuff, I'll usually set like this little palette that I have. Can you see it? Yeah, right there, that blue one. I'll set that on top of one of them. That's usually where I paint stuff. When you're working on something and you're standing, it's nice to have something to set things on. So they're always being used, and I keep finding myself needing more, so that's why we're building this. My son and I just made this one not too long ago. I was thinking about changing the design, so it's not, again, it's not very complicated, but this part right here, can you see that? Yeah. This section right here, I have little notches, I have little square pieces cut out on each one of these 2x4s that are holding everything up, so that they can, you know, key into each other and then fit around the 4x4 center post, and then that's what I put my feet support on. When you're doing this part, this absolutely takes the longest, is cutting these little notches out and getting them to fit well. So I'm trying to do a design change and see if we can speed the process up a little bit and get the same effect. My concern is how I want to do it is just bring a single 2x4 up this way and then have a support come off of the 4x4. And that way the support is more centered here, and these would be, you know, out in the corners would be further out from support. My only concern is that won't be strong enough, and these will eventually give over time. So I guess this is going to be more of an experiment. So anyways, again, a bit of a different video. I'm going to try and speed this along. This isn't really complicated. I'll just show you this real quick. This is essentially the lengths that you need. So you're starting 4x4. I have, again, this is more like based on your own height. So for my height, what's comfortable for me is 24 3/4 inch for that main 4x4, and then you can see all the other stuff. So the feet on the bottom, the little cross section on the bottom, those are 18 inches, but then the pieces that coincide, and you'll see how all this goes together. Anyways, you can see that I've held it up there long enough. I'll get it close there. Pause. Cool. The only thing I don't know, because I'm changing it, is my footrest support, which, like I said, is this section in here. Take those out of there. Oops. I don't know what those are going to be. We're going to have to figure those out once we kind of get to that point. And we'll take these. I've got 4 of these now. So we'll just take measurements off of those and try and put the footrest in the exact same place, but just with a simpler design. So probably going to move a lot of stuff around, get my my chop saw out, and start cutting. Stick around. Unfortunately, this does require a little math. Okay, so like I said, or what I showed you on this bad boy, is our 2 long pieces on the feet. So the 2 cross sections here on the bottom. Can you see that? What I'm pointing down here. The part that goes crossways with our T-post. So in other words, like this. All right, that's one of our feet, as I call them. So these are 18 inches, and our main beam is 3.5 inches in width. So 4x4 is actually a 3.5 by 3.5. Thank you, lumber companies. Anywho's, so because we want this centered, what you do is you take that 18 inches and you subtract 3.5 from it, and that gives you 14.5. You then divide that by 2 and measure, so that gives you 7.25. So then you measure 7.25 from each end, and then those lines should give you pretty dang close, if not exactly, if you measured it right, to 3.5 inches. So all I do with that is that gives me a visual, so that when I'm trying to center this to get it just right, to put screws in and mount it there, that gives me a visual to look at, and I can see that, all right, there's my line, I gotta move down, and vice versa, right? And I do the same thing on both my 18 inches, because this one is going to go directly onto this, right? And then the second one, that I will do the same thing, I haven't done on this one yet, is going to go like that, right? So it's a cross. They are squared, perpendicular to one another. So I will do the same thing on both boards, and then I will screw them into the main beam, main post, whatever you want to call it. Once I start doing that, I will show you how I do that so I don't run into the back of my other screws. So hold on a second. Okay, so now you can see I have that first board mounted. I only use 2 screws initially, and then when I go to put this guy on, I will put 3 more screws on the bottom, 1 in the center, and then 2 on the opposite corners of these 2, so obviously I don't run into the back of my screws, and that will give me the beginning of my base. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the result. Another quick tip is to do the same thing on the bottom piece, so that you can line this up from the top as well, so not only is it straight this way, it's straight this way, or square, perpendicular, lined up, relatively even. Alright, so I did okay on that. That one got a little cattywampus on me, as you can see from my lines. A little cattywampus. But I don't really go for perfection, if you'll watch some of my magazine painting videos as well. I'm just going for functional here. So as you can see, I've got my 3 on the bottom there that were opposite of where my other 2 screws were. My first set of screws that go from this board into the base, those were 3-inch screws, and the ones from this one go all the way through, they were 4-inch. So that way all 5 are penetrating into our main support beam here, or main whatever beam. Now what I'm going to do is I'll do kind of a custom fit for each one of these distances. So I'm going to cut one for here, you know, so on and so forth. Also, what we're going to have to do before we put those on in each one of these locations is I'm going to have to take my measurements for how far out this is going to be, and then all of my little supports for that. I will show you that when I get there. Stick around. Well, I've already made a mistake, because this piece, I put these 2 on this piece because that will be part of our support. So we'll have another piece that comes across top here that supports our footrest itself, but I need to have another piece in between. I can't do this. I got to have another piece in between here for I'll just use one of my other pieces. So there's going to be a piece that comes across like this. I don't want it to just be screwed into this piece. I want to have another piece that is also based in the main pole to support that as well, because all of our weight is going to be out here. So if you're pushing down that way, you don't just want one support, you want two. So I want to have something that's going into the main base as well. So I'm going to have to cut that out, take these off, put that there, and then finish putting these on. So these will have to go on the pieces that I put here before I mount them, right? Because otherwise it would look wonky. Anyways, I'll come back when I fix all that. Watch your fingers, kids. Alright, well I kind of missed my lines, as you can see, but that'll be fine. I can still get a screw into that, and that'll give us a little bit more support than just this. So I'm going to go ahead and do these other pieces, and then I will show you that all completed. Sorry, real quick. These little pieces ended up being 1 inch in width. That's why I said watch your fingers, because it's a really close cut. To be smarter about it, don't use such small pieces. I was just trying to use some of my scrap left over. So definitely use longer pieces that you can cut shorter pieces off of. It's a lot safer that way, especially if you're not familiar. These pieces are 5 inches in height, and that was the line that I kind of missed there. Like I was trying to put these at 5 inches, but obviously I got off. And these boards are 2 and 3/4. No, I did 2.5. I did 2.5. Oh, that's why. Well, I did 2.5 away from the pole to where these are started. Yeesh. So, got them all on. As you can see, all those other base pieces, but just like the other ones, man, they did not line up very well. It'll still function. And I know I did say it's really more about function over form, but I really like it to look a little better than this. So I don't know what I'm going to do differently in the future, but for now, that'll have to do. And now, so these pieces that are going to come off of here that will be a support for our footrest, those are 4 inches in length. So we'll need 4 of those. Got so caught up in trying to get those footrest things figured out, I forgot to cut the other bottom part of the feet, so this will be the first half of that. Okay, now for the actual footrest itself, so this part right here, that's where you put your feet on the footrest. Wonder why they call it that. So I have these, this says 2x2, and they're actually, what are they, like 1.25 inches? Nah, they're like inch, I don't know, 1 5/8. Anyways, they're not truly 2x2, just like every other piece of wood. Anyways, as you saw from our cheat sheet at the beginning, I'm going to cut these bad boys to 10.25 inches each, and there will be 4 of them. And then, I don't know if you can see it real well here, but you can see I will screw them kind of, not end to end, but one end will butt up like this, watch. They'll go blink. I will screw them in like that. Then I will set them on top of our footrest support, and then I will screw them down. Pretty simple. So I'll move you, show me cutting. I'll probably screw them together off screen, and then yeah. Well, we're starting to look like a stool. Alright, so we've got, here I'll just show you, got my pieces. This I was telling you where you just screw this one into that one, this one into it, so on and so forth, so you get a little square. Alright, this square, then you can't see it, then I'll show you. Then it sets down on our footrest support, so then all I'm going to do is just kind of get everything even on all 4 sides, and I will probably clamp, just grab a clamp and clamp these down, and then drill them in. Just so you know, I do pre-drill all of my holes, and I use a countersink as well, just to hide my screw heads. So as you can see there, there's my, it's all dirty, but got a little countersink set. You can buy them, I forget how much it was. It wasn't much, it was like 10 bucks maybe. You get 4 different sizes. And of course I had a longer drill bit in it, kind of like this one. This is for a bigger size, but I usually swap out these kind of short ones that come with it because they're not really long enough to do what I need to. And of course I set this on something and it fell down and I snapped that drill bit, so that's how that goes. But anyways, just want to let you know I do pre-drill and countersink all of my my holes, with the exception of the 2 or the 5 base ones that I showed you where they were the 3-inch and the 4-inch respectively. The majority of these are 2-inch screws. The only ones that I used 1 5/8 screws for that little spacer right there that goes into the main pole. That's kind of our secondary support for our footrest. Everything else is 2-inch screws. That doesn't really matter. You can kind of play it by ear. I usually just play the game of, all right, so if I have to screw, you know, this piece onto this piece, where's my 2-inch? And I go, there's a 2-inch screw. Is that enough support? Sure. Maybe not. I really wish they had like 2.5-inch screws. That's usually a really good size, because a lot of times, so if I'm screwing a 2x4 and a 2x4, it's okay. I would like a little bit more, but the only thing I've been able to find is just 2-inch and then right up to 3-inch, and 3-inch is a little bit overkill for a lot of this stuff, so I wish they had like a 2.5. But anyways, wish in one hand. Alright, so anyways, blabbering now. Clamp these down, screw them in. I'll show you the finished result there, not that it's hard to tell, and then we will move on to seat and seat support.